prince Theseus was sent one year with these sacrifices, and he fell in love with King Minos' daughter, uh, Ariadne. I'm butchering that name too. But they pretty much fell in love with each other, and she helped him out by giving him a ball of yarn, so that way once he slayed the Minotaur, he could find his way back. Pretty much, and another thing to note is that the gods pretty much in this mythology knew how to do specific things, and I point to the Minotaur being a mixed genetic thing, and being real in that sense that it was genetically modified, because the bull itself is an unusual bull, but it also came from Poseidon himself, so there could have definitely been tampering, because biologically there's no way a human can have the child of a bull. It doesn't make any sense unless it was genetically modified. So there is a palace on the island of Crete at a place called Knossos, and it is said to have had 1,300 rooms and spread across 3 acres of land, but this is not the labyrinth because it doesn't have any maze-like structure to it, and it has plumbing and everything else with it. So it had luxury, and this is not something you would have if you were trying to trap something or other people to get eaten.
Perhaps there was an underground labyrinth that they might have filled up. Or that might have caved in.
See, the thing is, though, is that they can't actually go underneath the site itself because it's too delicate and they don't want to mess up the site, essentially. But during the late Bronze Age, there was an island of Thera and there was a volcano on it. The volcano erupted and was a major catastrophe, or a catastrophic volcano, and the eruption caused an explosivity index of 6 or 7 and a dense rock equivalent of 60 kilometers cubed. And this dated to the mid-second millennium BC and is recorded as one of the largest volcanic eruptions on Earth's recorded history. It devastated the island of Thera, including the Minoan settlement at Akrotiri, and communities and agriculture areas on nearby islands and the coast of Crete itself, because of earthquakes and tsunamis that followed the eruption. So it is a very real possibility that the labyrinth would have been close to the shore, just from basing off of the mythology story of Daedalus and Icarus escaping their imprisonment, but also because of the logic that if you're going to send Athenians to get sacrificed, you're not going to drag them across the land, you're going to keep them close to the shore to be sacrificed quickly, so there's no chance of escape. So it's definitely could have been near the shore underground, because it was built underground. So part of the island of Crete could have been flooded, covering this up, and everybody who's looking on land for this labyrinth is not looking in the right place, because they should be looking off the coast, underneath the surface of the ocean and underneath the ocean floor.
That makes sense.
There is it's not related, but it's a tie-in to try to explain that this could possibly be a real labyrinth, because 4000 BC there was an island, or not an island, there was an Aryan city discovered in Russia, and the city had pottery and some other things too, but the pottery itself had swastikas on it and was believed to house 1,000, 2,000 people, but it was a very sophisticated city in terms of its structure, because it was like a spiraled structure, but the walls were pretty big, and it's believed that they aligned with a specific star. So it's a pretty sophisticated structure around 4000 BC. There could definitely be a chance that a labyrinth a couple thousand years later could have been built, considering this is what people were doing thousands of years before the labyrinth.
And you said this had swastikas all over it?
Heinrich, yeah, this is believed to be the origins of Aryan City, of what of where Hitler got his crazy ideas from, is because of this city and the people that could have lived here.
Because I've heard Hitler got his crazy ideas from aliens, and that people believed he had alien technology and weapons and stuff. I don't know where I heard it from. I could have sworn it was on a History Channel episode of some show.
Tinfoil hat alert.
Aliens can be saved for later.
But Heinrich's Schliemann, I'm so mispronouncing the name, was a German businessman and pioneer in the field of archaeology, and it is believed that he is the one that discovered the city of Troy. He believes, and other people, historians and archaeologists believe that he discovered the city of Troy that was in the book The Iliad, and up until that point, that book and the Odyssey was believed to be just pure fiction, just imaginative Greek works. But since he found the city, it is entirely possible that other the book, creatures, and sites could definitely be real.
I guess this would bring us to, unless you have more about the Minotaur. Because if you don't have more,
No,
that would bring us to the Chimera.
Okay, so this one's mine, and I say Chimera because there's a character on this show that nobody knows what it's called Winx Club, and that's it. Her name is spelled this way, and that's how they pronounce it, is Chimera. So hopefully we're satisfying both pronunciations there. Okay, so I'm reading off of the same book from earlier for this one as well.
All right.
The Chimera was the can't even speak all of a sudden. The Chimera was the creature with the body of a goat, the foreparts of a lion, the hind parts of a serpent, and sometimes is shown with the heads of all three animals ranged along its back. The Chimera was one of many children of Echidna and Typhon. Its fat fire was responsible for killing everyone in the city of Lycia in Asia Minor. It was finally dispatched by the hero Bellerophon, who rode upon the back of Pegasus and killed it by thrusting his spear into its mouth. As the metal of the spear melted in the heat of its gullet, the Chimera choked to death. So if it was real, it is no longer alive.
So it's like there's no possibility of having procreated children.
I didn't find anything because, you also have to kind of ask yourself, what would it mate with in the first place?
That is a good point, because it is believed to be like a mixture of different animal parts.
I mean, I guess you could make the argument that it could mate with a snake because it has the hind parts of a serpent.
Yes.
I know nothing about how snakes mate. But then you also have to, presumably this thing was pretty big, and I think you'd have to have a really ridiculously big snake, and it, like, I just don't think
Which could be a serpent. Because there were believed to be giant serpents and snakes.
Yeah, but the actual Chimera itself is definitely gone because it was killed. But I would think if there were any offspring, there would be more talk of that.
Yes.
or like a mutant snake or something that's got weird animal body parts that it shouldn't have.
That is a good point. There would definitely be talk amongst the internet and scientific researchers.
Yeah, so that's really all I've got for that, because there's just not a lot to say about it, honestly.
That's definitely not surprising. That would bring us to the Heckhounds, or Hellhounds, as they're more formally called.
I'm the only one who calls them Heckhounds.
Huh. Hellhounds, but since YouTube monetization, Heckhounds.
And while you two do that, I will be back in just a second.
That's perfectly fine. Brief intermission. Do do do. Excuse us for this brief intermission while our guests get things together and while I get a short drink break. This podcast is brought to you and sponsored by crazy people. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. Hit that notification bell right beside the subscribe button to get more videos whenever I post and upload. This brief intermission has been brought to you by Shadowstorm. It's your boy. And my guests have returned after the intermission, and we are back with the Hellhounds.
That one was Zach, so.
Alright.
We're doing Hellhounds now?
Yep. What do you have for the Hellhounds?
So, Hellhound is it's a supernatural dog in folklore. It's very a variety of ominous and hellish supernatural dogs occur in mythologies around the world. The main sightings of hellhounds are a dog that is very big, black fur, glowing red eyes. Because of its size, has increased strength and speed, but also has a foul odor, like sulfur. It smells like sulfur, pretty much. And sulfur can be found in underground caves and deep within the earth. Which is funny because hell in most religions is
below the earth.
Under the surface of the earth. It's inside the earth itself. Yeah. Cerberus is the most recognized and known hellhound. He has 3 heads. In some cases, he has up to 100 heads, depending on sightings, because he is the child of Typhon. So he has multiple heads. But Cerberus actually translates to spotted. So this was a spotted, multi-headed guard of the underworld, because he was the guard of the underworld in Greek mythology. But then we get to Hindu mythology, and the god of death, Yama, has 2 dogs at his side, and they're called Shyama and Sabala. Their names mean dusk and dawn, and each are said to have 4 eyes. Shyama actually translates to dark, black, or blue, so it lives up to his name, Dusk. Shyama is probably the one that's spotted even in modern days because, like I said, he is probably a pure black giant dog with red eyes, and so he's probably the one that people spotted in modern days. In Norse mythology, there's another hellhound that guards the gates of hell, called Garmr. I couldn't actually find anything of his description, so I couldn't actually see, what he looked like or if his name translated to anything. But this is probably most likely Cerberus, just in a different mythology. But there are two others in Norse mythology called Skull and Hades, and they hunt the sun and moon. So more than likely, one's pure white, one's pure black. So these are probably the same ones that are Shyama and Svala, just depicted differently. But they have similar appearances and in both mythologies, so they're more than likely the same creatures. So that would add up 3 different types of hellhounds that are in mythologies.
All right.
Thoughts, questions?
I don't have any that I can think of at the moment.
All I can think of is I've seen a post on I think it actually came from Tumblr, but I've seen it on Pinterest a lot that talks about what Cerberus's name translates to, like being spotted, and the post is just people laughing about how essentially Hades named his dog Spot.
Ah, that would be funny, and that would make sense. Joke. What else? Is that all you have for the hellhounds?
Yep.
All right, that brings us to what we were talking about, what we mentioned earlier, the chupacabra.
El Chupacabra, yeah. And I'm actually to introduce this one, I'm breaking out a different book.
All right.
So this is Vampires: The Myth, Legends, and Lore by Aubrey Sherman. And there's a little section in here. So the goat sucker. The chupacabra, which is Spanish for goat sucker, is one of the most recent vampirish creatures to enter modern legend. Since the 1990s, bloody attacks on livestock in Puerto Rico, Mexico, Texas, and as far north as Maine have been attributed to the elusive chupacabra. Over the years, these episodes have triggered media hysterics, as well as a handful of fanciful horror films and appearances on several television dramas such as The X-Files. The few alleged chupacabras killed by wary ranchers have turned out to be ill, emaciated, and mange-ridden coyotes. And then I'm going to switch back over to the Element Encyclopedia. But it is more of the same, though. So this vampire animal, also known as the goat sucker, has been reported since the mid-1990s throughout Latin America, especially around Mexico and on the island of Puerto Rico. There are a variety of reported descriptions. One is that of a lizard-like being with greenish skin and dorsal spines, standing 3 to 4 feet high, with a long nose and forked tongue that hops like a kangaroo. Another says that it hops like a kangaroo but has coarse gray fur and facial hair, and the head of a dog with long teeth. A third description is that of a hairless wild dog with a high dorsal ridge, deep eye sockets, long teeth, and claws. They move remarkably quickly, and some say that it has basilisk eyes that paralyze its prey. The chupacabra sucks the blood of livestock such as goats, horses, fowl, and cattle. Sudden animal deaths are laid at its door, especially if 2 puncture wounds are found on their necks. In July 2004, a Texas rancher killed a hairless dog-like creature that was attacking his livestock. Skeletal analysis of the creature is proceeding at University of California. The chupacabras may originate from Central American Aboriginal myths concerning the mosquito man, who sucks blood from animals through his long nose, just like a mosquito.
And that's where people believed it had originated from.
Mm-hmm. Or like one of the places. And this book, it says that analysis was taking place sometime after 2004. They may have actually, I should have looked this up. They may have actually finished it because this book was published in 2005. Or that's the copyright date anyway, so. But it's likely, though, that just like the vampires book said that they're just mange-ridden coyotes. Or it could
Or
also
at least
be
that's what the only sightings people have found that closely resemble them so far.
yeah, like if they've think they've caught and killed them, they've turned out to be mange-ridden coyotes. I think the explanation for the green look could also come from I know nothing about coyote anatomy, but I know humans, when our flesh, let me gross everybody out, when our flesh starts to die and it's still attached to a living person, it can turn kind of a green color. So it could be that maybe there was like dead flesh on the coyotes or something, so they looked kind of green in addition to having mange. Or they just got in a bad coyote fight and had like a dead limb or something. I don't know. But it actually kind of reminded me a lot of our next creature, which is the Jersey Devil, when you look up the story. Just because of what they're attributed to doing, like these horrible killing sprees. So I'm gonna jump into another book for that one, Jersey Devil. And this is Frightlopedia by Julie Winterbottom. Interesting last name. And if you look up the Wikipedia page, this is pretty much the high points of that for the Jersey Devil. This bizarre horse-headed bat dragon has gigantic wings, oversized hooves, huge teeth, and according to some, a set of sharp horns. Legend has it that a baby born in the 1700s sprouted wings and turned into a violent, merciless creature known to slaughter pets and cattle and climb onto people's roofs. It's lived deep in New Jersey's wooded pine barrens for nearly 300 years. And I see, I'm drawing the connection between one's called a goat sucker and one is actually has parts of a goat. That's why they seem similar to me. But Zach and I, we talked about this one, and the story actually kind of insinuates maybe a connection to an incubi, because this thing, the Jersey Devil, it was a normal baby that turned into this horrible monster because the mother, she already had a bunch of kids. I forget the exact number. So when she found out she was going to have another one, she said, "Please let this one be the devil." And unfortunately, she got what she wished for.
Are you talking about a mother as in an animal mother, or like an
No,
actual human baby
mother.
That's interesting. And kind of morbid and creepy.
Yeah. And I made the comment that of all the things to say when she found out she was going to have another kid, I understand that she was frustrated, but I really don't think asking for it to be a devil was the best reaction to have.
Yeah.
I would have maybe asked for it to be an angel, so like it's like easy to take care of, not it kills everything. But the incubus connection, incubi, when they were kind of a thing that you heard about all the time, they were usually used as an excuse for a person that was not supposed, like a female in particular, that was going to have a baby or had a kid with no explanation, and they were usually seen as demonic creatures. And from what it sounds like, this family were already, because they already had so many kids, let's say that the mother was visited by a real incubus in the night, and that's where this kid came from. They probably wouldn't have, it wouldn't have caused any alarm for her to suddenly turn up pregnant again. And the thing is that if back in the old days, because Christianity, if they thought that the child was demonic, they would usually go through all this stuff of like blessing the child and take a lot of precautions. So if it was the child of an incubus, and this is we're presuming here that incubi are real in the first place, and this is actually possible that one visited this mother in the night, then the presumption is that because she was already frustrated with this baby, she wished for it to be the devil. None of the precautions were taken that would normally be taken for a baby that was assumed to be a demon child. And that's why it turned into this horrible monster and killed everything.
That's very interesting. I haven't heard that story about the Jersey Devil before.
Well, that's just the theory that I came up with. Zach helped me out with the incubus connection. That's just kind of an explanation, sort of, but you have to go off the presumption that incubi themselves are real for that to work.
I suppose that's all you've got for the Jersey Devil.
Yeah.
Which brings us to something on the list that I didn't think I would see. Shadow people. And I guess I know who has that one.
Yeah, the one who just cackled.
A shadow person is a patch or of pretty much a living shadow. It's pitch black, hominoid in appearance and structure because you can't really see it. It's pitch black, so just the outline looks hominoid.
That's not what I thought.
Egyptians believed.
Because I thought.
What were you thinking?
When I looked up shadow people, or at least a video about strange encounters that I watched, they described this encounter as shadow people, like small children with blackened eyes, like all black eyes. They would show up at your door. They would ring the doorbell or whatever, or knock. When you answer it, they would ask to come in or whatever, or come in, ask to use the bathroom, use the phone or whatever. And if you didn't do this, they would haunt, or if you didn't agree to their request, they would like haunt you or whatever. So I thought that's what shadow people were. They would dress in like black clothing. They would have all black eyes and stuff. And they could cause you to have these weird paranormal things. But maybe they.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, that's.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've seen something like that before.
Yeah, but maybe they just named it wrong.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, the term shadow, like, if you don't look it up, that is a pretty broad term, and it's not a really very specific name. So you could apply just the name to a lot of things.
That's a good point.
So the Egyptians experienced these as well, and they called them the Kaibut. And it's essentially one of the 7 souls that a person had. The Romans called them the Umbra, and it was essentially a type of ghost to them. They went to a place called the Land of Shades after a person died, which is underground. It's like a part of the underworld, but it's slightly different because it's called the Land of Shades. It's where the shadow goes. In Greece mythology, people were known to dedicate their shadows or give them to a god, such as Zeus. And later on, they actually became known to fear their shadows in some instances. In certain predicaments and scenarios, they feared their shadow. Shadow people have been reported to move unnaturally quickly, as well as walk through solid objects and show signs of intelligence. there are different types of shadow people. One of them being the Hat Man, and he's seen his appearances. It looks like he's wearing a trench coat and a wide brimmed hat, and he's usually seen in doorways or next to the bed.
Oh, that makes sense. Like, you could see them during like a lucid dream.
The next type, these are the dangerous ones. Like these are the ones that if you see, you better run because
Oh,
they
so
will
there's
attack you and
different
probably try
versions.
to kill you. Yeah, there's different versions, just like anything else. Just like with the giants, there's different ones. There's good and bad ones. These are the ones that have red eyes. They are known to attack people. They are the main ones to attack people, and these are the ones reported to climb on walls and ceilings. So these are often associated to being demons, because of their nature and their appearance. Like I said, those are the worst of the worst ones. In rare cases, though, there have actually been spotted shadow creatures like animals, which is weird because I've never even heard of that until I researched it. It's very rare apparently. These animals are shown as such as cats, in some cases dogs, and even a bear in one instance. I don't know why, but that was apparently a sighting at one point or another. And I had a really hard time trying to figure out if these things actually interfaced with electrical equipment like regular ghosts do, because ghosts are known to mess with electrical equipment, drain batteries, flicker lights, everything like that. But these, I could not find one instance of these actually messing with electrical equipment. So that was interesting. But it points to it being dark matter. I didn't think it was dark matter at first because I was like, dark matter. I was dead set for sure that they messed with electrical equipment and that they were just some type of other ghost form, but
Yeah.
apparently not. But so this would point to them being dark matter, and dark matter is a hypothetical form of matter that is thought to account for approximately 85% of the matter in the universe. It's about a quarter of its total energy density, or of the universe's total energy density, and the majority of dark matter is composed of some is yet discovered subatomic particle, non-baryonic, which means it does include it should only include part of baryons, I guess, and in other words, includes protons, neutrons, and all of the objects composed of them, atomic nuclei included. And but one thing they don't include is electrons and neutrinos, which explains the why they can't interface with electrical equipment because they don't compose the charge to do it.
Ah.
And dark matter can, hypothetically, if the particle is real, bend light, which would explain why we can see them if they're in a dense formatted style such as the shadow people. And given the fact that we evolved as, multi-celled organisms, living beings out of the regular matter, there's a high probability chance that dark matter could have definitely created some type of beings that were similar to us except composed of different types of particles.
Wow. This is what I found the article about the people I was talking about, which is the black-eyed children, an urban legend of supposed paranormal creatures that resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16, with pale skin and black eyes, who are reportedly seen hitchhiking, panhandling, or are encountered on doorsteps of residential homes. And that's why I thought they were these shadow people. Because I guess they're seen like with pale skin, black clothing, or black eyes.
Yeah.
And I guess that is all you have for the
That's all I.
shadow people. Okay, that brings
Yeah.
us to our next creature, Mark Zuckerberg. Oh, I'm just kidding. Lizard people. Because
This one I
memes.
wanted to do the. I wanted to do the best possible chance I have for this because there is a widely spread theory, conspiracy theory that's completely bonkers, even by my standards. It's that they are evil and that they eat people and they take our place. So I'm here to disprove that 100% and show that everybody is wrong and nobody knows what they're talking about.
This is your best opportunity to do so.
Yeah. So, in the Mayan mythology, there's an agricultural god called Chak, and he was often represented as being reptilian. He had reptilian features in his depictions. Again, point out he was the agricultural god, meaning he helped us with agriculture. The Aztecs believed that there were once, this is their creation story. The Aztecs believed there were once 7 tribes that came from 7 caves. They were led by their gods to claim land and build their civilizations and everything like that and prosper. Note the caves part, because there have been dozens of complexes, cave structures and civilizations built underground, that are sophisticated. And one of them is actually called Darren Kuyu. Just so you guys know that I'm not making this up. It's in Turkey, and it dates to 8th century BC, or roughly 700 BC, and has 18 stories. It's self-contained. It has wells, shafts, kitchens. It has bathing houses or room areas for that stuff. It has schoolrooms and everything else that you could ever want in a self-sustained civilized area, and it was thought to believe to hold up to 20,000 people, and each floor had its own defense mechanisms that if they got attacked they could seal off each floor with a monolithic stone door that would seal the floors off so that way they could protect themselves.
I have heard of something like that, like a huge building with traps on each floor.
So there have been cities underground, which does help support the Aztec idea, their creation story of living underground at one point or another.
That would make sense because there are cities underground and there are cities built like in caves and mountains.
Yeah. The Aztec god Tlaloc, again, earthly fertility, god of earthly fertility and water, essentially agriculture, again, with the agriculture god, is associated with caves, springs, and mountains. Again, supporting the idea that at one point or another there was, civilization underground. Chinese mythology believed in a dragon king, and he's often depicted with reptilian features as well. And that's where I introduced my theory on how they could exist as a species entirely, because a lot of people would associate them with being aliens, and a good story that I've heard before, which is completely false, is that, like I said, they came here before humans, but they were aliens. They came here and they were here before us. We evolved and they hate us for taking their planet, so they want to kill us, eat us, and reclaim their planet. Again, they may have been here before us, but they don't probably hate us, considering everything I've just mentioned. They were the ones helping us. In Africa,
other words,
this is
this
again
planet is
my theory on how. In Africa, there was a creature called the Mokele Membe, and it's titled or translates to the one who stops the flows of rivers. And the way this creature is described by the native tribes and villages in the area, it's described to be a brontosaurus.
Like the dinosaur.
There's other place. Yeah, dinosaur. Other places, the Loch Ness, Nessie, and Lake Champ, the Champlain dinosaur area creature there. Both those descriptions, both of those creatures, both describe a plesiosaur. Again, thought to be extinct, but if they're still here, that means dinosaurs did survive, and a way that we know how to survive underground during certain events, or just at one point or another lived underground, was because they themselves did the same thing and taught us to do the same thing. Again, helping us. They are not a threat. If they helped us through thousands of years, they'd have no reason to change their mind. The last 100 years. I mean, there's no reason to. And dinosaurs were thought to go extinct around 15 million years ago. We've only had, 66 million years ago is when they thought to go extinct. Humans evolved within the past 20 million years. So if we came to be the creatures that we are in the past 20 million years, imagine what creatures could have evolved out of dinosaurs if they survived 66 million years.
Yeah, that would be crazy. That would mean that like movies such as Jurassic World doesn't even begin to compare to what they could be.
I mean, if you want to get technical about it,
they could be.
They could be way more dangerous.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Jurassic World is kind of not a good source to look at for dinosaurs to begin with, because if you research, they've come to the conclusion that dinosaurs were a lot more feathery than we originally thought. So, like, Jurassic World and the other Jurassic Park movies are still operating under the like traditional, more reptilian look. As for the lizard people, I mean, I wouldn't blame them, because have you noticed humanity lately?
Yeah, that is a good point. And of course, I saw this in a video by the YouTube name Bill Wirtz or Bill Hertz, History of the Entire World, I guess. And in that video, somewhere towards the beginning, he talks about the dinosaurs, but he talks about 3 different sections or types of dinosaurs, and only one of them survived the first apocalypse, if you want to call it that, and they became the dinosaurs. Like, if you watch it, it will show 3 different categories or types of giant creatures that roamed Earth. So even those could still have fossils, or they could still roam the Earth today. At least I believe so.
I mean, those aren't typically. I mean, we're talking about sophisticated hominoid people, reptilian figures. I mean, of course, animalistic, big dinosaur-like creatures are still going to be quite vicious, but the more hominoid, intelligent species has definitely helped us for thousands of years survive and maintain our systems of agriculture and livelihood.
I have also heard that lizard people are said to work within our government right now, or at least people believe so.
If they did, I can see why. Like Sarah said, have you met humanity nowadays?
Hey,
if they did it, though, they did
hope.
it for a reason. I guarantee. If they did it for a reason, and I guarantee you, they probably didn't eat the people that they replaced.
I mean, Who knows? Maybe they gave up. I wouldn't blame them. I guess if that's all you have, that brings us to the next